is a lockpick. It might be handy if you, the master of unlocking, take it with you.
Looting through the rubble, leaving cities war-torn, still incurring more scorn. Ragged and I'm forlorn, trying to unlock this. Open with my lockpicks, punching with my second hand every time the clock ticks.
All right, there you go.
All right, let's get this baby on the road here. Let's see if we can transition over. Hacking now. And we are here, except there's way too much space. Also, my hair is crazy. I've been having, I'll tell you this, I hope everyone practiced Buy Nothing Day because, man, have I had a week. Just give me one moment just to finish setting up some things here. I know we were supposed to stream at 9, but long story short, the transit that I used to get here accidentally put me a stop further than what I wanted. So, yeah, that happened. So that's what we're getting kind of used to here. And let's see if we can get into this as best as we can. Hi, everyone out there. It's been a while on this particular program just because my work schedule has been crazy. Quick information about myself. And yes, I am lacking the lock shirt today. Again, I've been having that type of week. I'm known as Sidepocket. I'm one of the... Also, can anyone hear me out there? I just want to double check. Hold on one moment. I just want to make sure people can hear me. Hold on one moment. Okay, yay. Because I finally got the audio kind of working on here, so you should be able to extra hear things, particularly when it comes to the locks. But I'm known as Sidepocket. I'm one of the two co-founders of DCG 201, formerly known as DEF CON 201 and DC 201. We are one of the many DEF CON groups across the United States and around the world. It's sort of a place where people meet up to, learn and share stories about all sorts of forms of hacking, whether it's computers, locks, phones, any sort of mechanical device, people, social structures, things like that. And as the 201 number kind of suggests, we are based in New Jersey, particularly Jersey City, New Jersey. And we normally meet up every third Friday of the month, but I'm actually doing really good progress of that. We're going to finally meet up in person and live stream at the same time one day this month. It's looking like it's going to be the 23rd of December, but we'll see. I'm hoping to make that announcement later on this week, probably shortly after the NYC 2600 meetup, which I'm going to get into details in a bit before we get into our main topic today. God, my hair is... I'm going to correct this when we go on a very short break. I just want to see here. Dalp says, I'm off work, so I can't watch the live, but I'll catch it later. Have a great one. Yep, this is all going to be archived later. But if you want to find out more about our group, again, so here's bad news. Yes, currently our website is still down. The good news is that I believe after today, it will... in an Elon Musk Twitter error style, we'll go back online, and then later this week we're going to make major updates to it. So in the meantime, you can go visit our Medium blog if you want to be able to interact with us better, and you want to get like constant updates. One, if you like the content that you see today, and I'm going to remind this, you can like, share, subscribe on Twitch, DLive, and YouTube. We're also streaming on a bunch of other things, except for we took off Facebook because we're doing a test. And right now we should be streaming directly on Twitter. That should be working. It's funny. It's like once Twitter goes into the shitter, do not mean to be a poet, but I don't know it. That's when we get the option to stream onto Twitter, right, when everything goes to shit. So that's what we're testing today. What was I going to say here? But this video is also going to be archived later on our YouTube. By the way, if you subscribe on YouTube, and all of this is free, make sure you hit that bell and turn all notifications on, because just like Twitter, YouTube, not very well designed or coded. Yeah, we're on all sorts of different social media platforms if you want to keep up with various hacker news and chit chat, as well as when we go on live stream, when we announce physical meets and cool news. We're on a bunch of things. Our two most popular things, well, our most popular thing, and we'll get to that in a bit, was our Twitter at DEFCON 201NJ. However, we did notice, thanks to the stupid Musk in the room, that a lot of hackers have left Twitter and are now more engaged in our Mastodon instance, which is at hostducks.social. And we're also popular on other things like Instagram. We recently expanded to other online platforms, which I tried to update, but I couldn't today, such as Co-Host and Tribal. We're going to be experimenting with a ton of new things as the bird nosedives and crashed due to the bad musk in the room. If you want all of our links where you can see our social media and live streaming and follow along, I just posted that link into chat. And again, normally I would talk about our Facebook chat, but unfortunately we're doing experiments, so we're not live streaming on Facebook right now. Instead, we linked our YouTube to our Facebook, and we are instead, we should be streaming on Twitter. We should high all the people left over on Twitter as the Titanic sinks high out there. So let's get into what today's episode is going to be, because I'm dilly-dallying enough. And yes, if everything goes correctly, this should be either the or one of the final days we're going to be raising money for the National Abortion Federation. I know, big scary words, but that SCOTUS ruling not only damaged a lot of Americans who have uteruses, as well as people who are friends with, related to, married, or dating people with uteruses, but because it was predicated, Roe v. Wade was predicated on a privacy concern, that rolled back privacy for all Americans, no matter what your genitalia or reproductive organs are. And basically the Patriot Act has expanded because, America, that's what we do here, unfortunately. We love to talk about having rights, and then we take them away. So throughout this live stream, you can donate. In the future, we're not Tiltify has been great, but now Twitch has an integrated system in order to donate for stuff. So we're going to be using that in the future, starting next year in 2023. But in the meantime, you can donate money to the link I posted in chat. You can also scan that QR code in the corner. And if you are on Twitch, you can scroll down. There's a little widget where you can directly donate, which I'm going to also double check to make sure that that's all there and kosher. Finally, about that too, is that because we're using a third party to Tiltify, any money that you send, we don't touch. And if we don't even make our $400 goal, which looks like it, but who knows what's going to happen in the next roughly hour or so, whatever money we get, that's going to be sent to the awesome charity organization that does both legal stuff and boots on the ground, kind of similar to what the EFF does, but for reproductive health in the United States. So, it would be amazing if someone could send like $100 or $50 or something like that, but if I'm broke too, so if you can only afford, especially after Black Friday, aka Buy Nothing Day, and the upcoming Cyber Monday, which is today, if you have $1, $3, $5, $10, anything you want to spare, if you donate that, just like with following us, we get an alert notification. But unlike alerts where I just shout you out on Twitch, D-Live, or YouTube temporarily, when we get donations, I worship you the entire stream. So that's kind of how that goes. And today should be the last one, although we might extend it to one last test run of a show that we might do next week. I'm just trying to put things together. So with all that out of the way, what are we going to be looking at today? Well, we're going to be looking at a piece of news. Yeah, for you it's Tuesday. For us it's still 9:56 p.m. So it is still the Monday for us, because I forget Australians time travel and they live in the future. So that's going on. But what are we going to look at today? Well, we're going to be looking at something that I've been wanting to do for a while. And let's put it this way. There's been 3 things that have been limiting the Master of Unlocking stream all year for 2022. 2022 sucked for me and a lot of DCG 201 in multiple ways, but here are the 3 ways that I've been limited by. Recently, I've been limited by my schedule. If you've noticed, I used to regularly do the weekends. Unfortunately, with my new job scheduling, I am often working on the weekends, and I don't know what hours I get until minimum 2 weeks before they happen. So I'm still trying to see if I can do a semi-consistent time slot with this, maybe looking for an alternative. We might have to move this to a weekday. We're going to find out soon. The other 2 things that have been limiting me is money, which is starting to not be a problem anymore. And then also recently, I didn't have a good address, a good safe address to send stuff to. So I haven't been purchasing up until very recently lock stuff. And that more than anything has hampered me back. And a big thing that's hampered me both with money and an address is I've been wanting to cover handcuffs for a while. I have been wanting to get my own dremeled out or see-through. I actually found a really good one that's color-coded, but I don't have that here. I'm going to explain why I have these in a moment. But I've been wanting to cover handcuffs, my basic understanding of them, how to open them, how to shim them, all sorts of stuff like that. By the way, focus is going to be on American handcuffs, particularly Smith and Wesson. And what's been awesome is that last week I got to meet my good longtime friend and lockpicking mentor and mentor to many. I'm going to ratchet sound here. Oh, that's so sexy. Night Owl. And besides many achievements in lock sports, such as being the guy who basically runs TOOOL now, voted in by all of us members, and all of that. He's also a really long-term friend of mine, and if there's anything Night Owl is truly known for, besides the TSA key stuff, like if you know him personally, and now everyone's going to know, he is kind of one of his specialties, and probably his biggest one, is handcuffs and restraints. And he has a ton of these. He collects these like the way most kids collect Pokemon, or like how most Americans collect COVID. Like that's how many he has. And because there was multiple things I wanted to do in order to bring handcuffs and teach people them, including the stream, he managed to take a extremely small, but for me it's a sizable sample. For him it's almost nothing, of his Smith & Wesson 100 series handcuffs for me to demo. We recently went to a event hosted at the NSWF, which is sort of like a sex positive club. We're adults here, by the way, so I'm going to talk about this sex positive club that is in New York City. And my awesome friend SS New War was doing her debut podcast where she talks about technology and how it's being used for sex education and building devices to pleasure people and stuff like that, and how it's benefiting or detrimenting people in the adult entertainment industry. And so she had a bunch of vendors there, and I was there as a vendor to teach not only lockpicks but also teaching handcuffs and restraints, and that was the first that we got to demo of these. So I have an extended hold on period for these, so that's what we're going to cover today. Dalp says handcuffs are great in the bedroom. Handcuffs hurt to the bed, then go leave and play video games. There's actually a meme I've been wanting to share where it was a couple investing in getting restraints for the bedroom, and what happens is that the husband restrains his wife on the bed, and he has all the blankets, and it's captioned of like, since we got these, guess who stayed on her side of the bed and didn't steal any of the covers. So that's one thing. I'm also, even though I don't have like what are called adult or pleasure room handcuffs with me, I might do that on a future episode, because we're definitely going to do a follow-up on this where I have my own kit, and I'm going to talk about things that I didn't get to today, that I'm also going to kind of detail a bit of. Again, I know way less about handcuffs and restraints than my mentor Night Owl. This is just my understanding, but I will get into the difference between the handcuffs that you buy at like an adult sexy store and the handcuffs that we have here, these actual as fuck handcuffs, and why you should never use actual as fuck handcuffs to do like BDSM stuff. Even if you're a hardcore person, it's a bad idea. I'm also going to, we're going to go on a very short break. It's going to be 30 seconds to a minute. I'm going to move the camera over, so my face is going to be gone. Hopefully next month I'll have the second camera so we can do the face and the camera at the same time. I also might be able, I'm also getting a new phone recently, and I might be able to use that phone camera instead to do the locks, and then have this camera as the face cam. And the security cats are still going around checking out the hacker void, so you know, that's good to know that the security is still here. So if you hear meowing or if a random cat jumps over the camera, those are the security cats we have at the compound, at the hacker compound here. So we're just going to give me 30 seconds to a minute. I'm going to move the camera over so we can see and demo the handcuffs. I'm going to also, whatchamacallit, I am going to straighten out my hair, get a drink. This should be, I know I say this all the time, this should be a fairly short episode, although I'm going to come up with fun, cool things to do. We're also going to do a quick video. Yes, zip ties is something I've been shown and told how to do it. I've not actually done it myself. Again, I don't do anything with locks unless I've done it. It's kind of like the way the BDSM world works, where you don't use a tool or a toy on someone unless you've used it yourself. I do the same thing with locks, where if I haven't tried it, or at best if I haven't opened it, then I don't have it in my kit, and I've gone through most of these. So the necklace I make and sell. Cool. So we're gonna go on a 30-second thing as I rearrange stuff here and enjoy the music for a couple of moments, and I'll be right back and we'll be able to teach this. So here we go. Okay, sorry about that. That took a little bit longer than I thought, but that's what she said. But here we go. We should be properly set up right now. So let's change back. Hacking time. Alright, so it's a little cramped here because we have a lot. I love this because my mentor and longtime friend Night Owl is like, he's like, oh, I'm just going to give you like just a small sample of all the handcuffs that I have. And he gives me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, technically 8 because this is still in the box, handcuffs. And he also gave me some of the bypass shims for this, as well as, which I think is an awesome safety and accessibility thing. I am not going to use these for the stream just because I know my limit with how long these are, but basically these are little Velcro pads that you can put on someone's wrists when you publicly demo, and that way when you put the handcuffs on them and you leave them on for an extended period of time, that way it doesn't actually chafe your wrists. So that's always a good thing there. So thank you, Night Owl, for this entire ensemble here. It's pretty crazy stuff. I just want to do a check with the sound, so give me one moment here. I'm gonna temporarily turn off the mic, so I'll be right back. Sorry about that. I just wanted to double check the audio here for that. But yeah, this is like Night Owl's like, I'm giving you a small sample of my entire collection, and he considers 8 handcuffs small. And you know, he also gave me the bypass tools and such, as well as these awesome wrist pads for when I do public demo, which I'm not going to use simply because I know my limits here, although if I screw up, that can also be a thing in of itself. I'm also just going to quickly move the logo down here because I just noticed that I thought I would have this in like a nice spot, but let's move it into a more comfortable position here. Let's put it like right there. That should be a fun one. All right, so just like the way the title is. So let's get into this. So all the handcuffs that you see here, and by the way, I'm actually shocked that Night Owl is not in the chat, like screaming at me what different models are and like where I'm screwing up and everything. He's probably going to leave comments on this video and more likely call or PM me with how much of a terrible job I'm doing. But what we're going to be looking at here is all the handcuffs that are going to be on this stream are going to be from Smith Wesson. Now that always confuses people because people are like, wait a minute, isn't that the firearm gun manufacturing company in the United States? Well, a lot of, if not all of the firearm manufacturers, they just sell things for law enforcement and defense in general. So they also a lot of times sell non-lethal or less lethal, I should say, weapons. They sell safety gear products, vests, and in this case, a lot of gun manufacturers, because a lot of times it's made out of the same metal material that they use for their guns. They also make handcuffs and restraints for law enforcement and other personnel. By the way, before we get into this, because I forgot to do this before the intro here, and I'm glad I'm catching this now. Again, this is not a tool that is the Open Organizational Lockpickers or tool with 3 O's. I will type their website in the chat right now. They just redid their website too, so this is kind of fun. That's their website. This is not a tool sponsored or endorsed stream. However, not just because I'm a tool member, but because it's a good idea in general, we're going to follow 2, and in this case, when we do handcuffs and restraints, we're going to be following 3 different rules here tonight. So the first 2 are kind of familiar. The first rule is do not pick locks that you rely on. If you have no idea how many times I have try to teach people lock picking, and they instantly want to pick the lock on their door, the lock on their gym locker, or their window lock, or something that they personally rely on. In the case of handcuffs, I can imagine that maybe they have a pair of handcuffs and that they want to do like some Harry Houdini bullshit with it. And it's like, no, if you rely on any of these locks or handcuffs or restraints, the more you pick and shim and bypass them, the more they're going to wear out, the more they're susceptible for those bypass methods, so other people could do it to yours. You will wear out the lock, you will wear out the tool, or my favorite, you'll break the lock and the tool at the same time. So that just do not pick locks that you rely on. The second thing is do not pick locks that you don't own. If you see any, and this is going to tie into rule number 3, by the way, the extra rule we're going to do for handcuffs and restraints every time we do them. If you are wandering around and you're like, I did see that Master of Unlocking show at Sidepocket. I recognize that lock. He had that show. That's lock, blah, blah, blah. I ordered the tool he recommended for blah, 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 to open it. Don't do that, because you do not own that lock. That lock was put there, no matter how shitty that lock is, for a reason, okay? Doing so, you're trying to pick someone else's lock, and you don't have permission, and they don't know you're doing it, you are automatically trespassing and violating a lot of rules. So this is a way to cover your ass and cover my ass as an instructor. Do not pick locks you rely on, and do not pick locks you don't own. The last thing, and this is not a tool thing, but this is something I'm going to add because of handcuffs and restraints. Now, unfortunately, every time I try to teach anything lock related, due to mass media and idiots, it's the same way I would say as being a gun instructor on a gun range. You know, if you've ever been to a proper range that's not bullshitty, they will go over gun safety rules. No, they don't care if you were raised around firearms all your life. They go through them, they enforce them. There's all sorts of rules and regulations when you're out there on a range, when you're firing handguns, and also how to do it properly so you don't make noob mistakes that can put you and others at risk. But because, you know, we have propaganda, and we have mass shooters, and also in Hollywood it's really cool to see guys with shades doing guns. Every time you bring up firearms, everyone immediately thinks, oh, you want to murder someone. And that's not how most Americans, despite how dumb people are in this country and our terrible news and media, that is not what most people are using firearms for. And even if it's in self-defense, it's done in a very professional manner as a last resort. It's the same thing when I do locks. Every time I do locks, I even had this at SX New. No offense to her. I had someone predictably approach this to me at her podcast at NSFW, where when I teach lockpicking stuff, people immediately ask, why should you learn it? And then what they're trying to get at is, why are you teaching people this? You're teaching how to break into people's houses and cars and stuff. And that's not what we're here to do. That's why we go over those 2 rules in the beginning. This is for educational purposes. I learned a lot of this, not the handcuffs, but I've learned a lot of this, for example, from my mom. In the same way a lot of old ladies like to knit and watch their stories. She liked to watch her stories and pick locks. That's actually how I got into this, because she learned at a HackerCon that I brought her to. And then after her passing in 2016, I decided to finally learn myself. It's a cool way to connect with my mom. I've also helped a lot of people who got locked out. I have improved people's locks. I have, I have let people know and have them find out how shitty their locks are, so that they know their locks are shit and they have to change them. There's so many different reasons to learn this besides burglary or something. And so here's the 2 things. I'm actually going to now make this 4 rules. So let's recap. The first one, tool standard rules, and I promise we're going to get into this. But this is very important in the beginning. Do not pick locks that you rely on. Okay, number 1, and 2, do not pick locks that you don't own. All the locks, handcuffs, and restraints that you see on this show, past shows, and future shows are all, well, this is on loan from Night Owl. He's giving me permission to give permission to everyone else because he trusts me as a friend and an instructor. But these are, I own them, or a tool member owns them, and we're giving you permission to use them because we do not on purpose detain people, especially since it would be illegal, in handcuffs. We do not, we do not rely on our locks to lock our gyms and our front doors and stuff like that. So they only exist to teach ourselves and others and practice lockpicking, shimming, and bypassing. That's the only way they exist, hence those 2 rules. Here's the 2 extra rules for handcuffs and restraints. 1, do not put handcuffs on people or restraints and they haven't consented to it. You don't want, if you're doing sexy, kinky stuff, you're not going to want to use actual ass handcuffs, and I'm going to explain why in a minute, okay? But do not just slap them. If you obtain handcuffs legally, do not just slap handcuffs on people, okay? That's just dumb and wrong. It's cruel. It's illegal. All sorts of stuff like that. And here's the 4th rule, and to me this is vital when it comes to handcuffs. The only way I could see you using the information I'm going to show tonight in a realistic situation when you're not just doing cool party tricks or being an instructor like me is, and I hope this never happens to you, but believe it or not, sometimes when people, this is actually good use for this knowledge, sometimes when people get abducted, kidnapped, etc., teens, women, men, just anybody that someone wants to obtain, besides, in addition to putting duct tape over their mouth or using rope or whatever, they actually usually have handcuffs and ankle cuffs, feet cuffs that they slap onto people. I'm not saying you should do that, but that is the only scenario I could see for myself and others for using this information to get out of handcuffs in a realistic situation. If you have been charged for a crime by the police, they've read your rights, and they put handcuffs on you. By the way, I'm not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. This is just me talking common sense. So do not try to say this in a court of law. But this makes sense, but a lot of people don't think of this. Do not use any of the techniques to bypass or open any handcuff that the police put on you, okay? Your best survival technique is to shut up, get a lawyer, and just comply in terms of the actual arrest or detention they're putting on you. Now, obviously, especially again, I'm a person of color. This can become an issue because, let's just say, even with white people, white men in the United States that are arrested, police, especially with handcuffs, do not treat people right. And in fact, a lot of times they beat the crap out of people. And it's not even in this country. Look at what happened in Iran with the morality police, where the evidence looks like that the woman they detained, they beat the shit out of her. It's awful. That's why Iran is doing something that honestly America should have been doing centuries ago. My point is that obviously I can't do commentary because I've been in that situation before, if they're like harassing you or physically beating you. But in terms of police claim, hey, you jaywalked, you're blah, 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 Miranda rights, slap handcuffs on you or taking you to the precinct, just go with it. If you have any of these tools or techniques to buy, don't. Just don't. Because let's say they're being super nice. They're like, hey, we hate to do this, but we have to put you in handcuffs, put you inside. We'll bring you to the precinct. We'll take them off. But just saying, let's say the police detain you in the nicest way possible. As soon as you either attempt or get out of the restraints that they put you in, they're going into DEFCON 10. Now, I'm not talking about the convention. Any happy or goodwill or will fly out the window. They're going to think you're going to, which is basically what you're doing, escaping their arrest, and will do whatever means and escalation as possible to get you restrained again. So they are going to tackle you to the ground. They might beat you down to make sure you stay on the ground. Again, I'm not a lawyer, but these things happen. So I often have people, when they learn handcuffs, think, oh, now that I have that skill, when I get arrested because I'm such a, hack or cyberpunk rebel, that I will be able to run away from the police after. Just don't. Your literal best bet of survival, if you are arrested for anything, is just to comply with the arrest until you're able to get to your attorney, and just don't tell them anything. That's just a general, even police will tell you this. Do not use any of these techniques if police put handcuffs on you, okay? I'm not advocating for doing this. The only scenario I can think of is if a bunch of people with balaclavas, or like in Snowden's case, the Russian government, kidnaps you or someone you know, and they slap handcuffs on you and they throw you in the back of the trunk to be delivered to the organ harvester or whatever, then you might be able to decide if you can use these things. I'm not telling you you should, just saying. So we're going to go through the rules again, then we're going to get right into this. Do not pick locks that you rely on, number one. Do not pick locks that you own, number two. I'm going to kind of reverse the order here. Do not, if police put handcuffs on you, just comply with the arrest. Do not get out of any handcuffs law enforcement puts on you, okay? And lastly, do not put handcuffs or restraint on anybody that A, you don't have consent of restraining them, and B, that you haven't gone through all of the safety and talk with them of the process of what you're going to do, okay? So now that we have that out of the way, let's get into the episode, because honestly, this shouldn't last more than 15 minutes. So as I said, Night Owl gave me an assortment. Let me get my drink here. An assortment of various handcuffs. They're all by various models by Smith and Wesson. All of the techniques, I believe, are going to work on these handcuffs. And I'm going to kind of go through them in a bit. But I'm going to tell you something right now. So, I know that for SS Noir, that at the NSFW, which again is like a sexy, kinky club sort of thing. I was doing this for their podcast. It's a tech podcast. That I brought handcuffs. I always made people wear these pads on their wrist. Okay, I'm not going to wear the pads, but that doesn't mean you should. It's do as I say, not as I do. I know how to wear these without screwing up my skin or my wrists. But if you do any of this, make sure you put some sort of padding on their wrists, because here's why. You should never use real handcuffs to play with. So, I don't have them here, but you probably have gone to like a Spencer's Gifts if you're from New Jersey or something. And you may have seen at your local Spencer's or adult entertainment store handcuffs that you can use to restrain the bedroom. These are completely different handcuffs than the actual Smith & Wesson handcuffs that are used by law enforcement here. Those handcuffs are very similar. They're basically metal, proper steel versions, sometimes even plastic, of the same type of safety handcuffs that you give to children to play with. They are made of a lightweight aluminum. They barely weigh anything. And they have a latch on the outside of it, so that anytime you need to get out of these handcuffs, you can just easily move that latch and the handcuffs will open without using the key. That is there as a safety thing, because one, you don't want to have the hell of having real handcuffs being put on you and your partner cannot find the key. And again, when I'm going to get fantasy handcuffs in the future to show the difference, but I can show to you it right now. Again, like I said, those are made out of aluminum. If you can hear here, sorry for the noise. Your eardrums are probably dead, but I'm making a point here. These are steel. They're heavy. Like, just holding these in my hands, they are heavy. I feel like I have like 50 quarters in each of my hand. They are heavy. And even though, like, if you've studied crucifixions, I know, weird tangent, but still, that your wrist can hold a lot of pressure, hence crucifixions. The thing is, if you put handcuffs on someone, especially if you only put one of them, this weighs down on your wrist. It gets heavy. It's hard to hold. Like, I'm holding up now, but if I wait, and I'm not going to do this for safety reasons, but if I wait like 2 to 3 minutes, my arm is going to start tiring out, my wrist is going to start tiring out, my wrist is going to chafe, and the tighter that they put these on you, they can make them potentially so tight that your wrists will chafe and stuff like that. And that is why, even if you can obtain actual handcuffs, you should never, ever use actual handcuffs by Smith & Wesson or any other manufacturer for playtime in the bedroom. Because you will lose track of the time of your play session. and your partner's wrists are going to hurt in a bad way. They're going to chafe. The skin's going to get damaged. Their muscle's going to get damaged. If they move incorrectly, it will further damage their wrist between the weight and also the ratcheting system. This is exactly why you may have seen suspects where the police manhandled them the wrong way, or they were just sitting there with just the handcuffs on them. And you've probably seen pictures, because a lot of times this is brought up in court for police malpractice, welts and cuts and scrapes and bruises on the wrist area. And that is from just simply just wearing these for over 2 minutes. So once again, if you want to do sexy handcuff play in the bedroom, go to an actual adult store and purchase. All the handcuffs there are going to be those aluminum safe for play handcuffs. Do not use actual handcuffs, because these are solid steel or harder materials, and they are heavy. Especially this guy, which we're going to get to, is super heavy. Like, this is just making my wrist hurt just holding it like this. So, with that out of the way, let's go into about handcuffs. So, we've all seen handcuffs. We've seen them in the movies. If I had more time, I was actually going to do that little clip from Who Framed Roger Rabbit where he slaps, again, non-consent, Roger stupidly slaps handcuffs on Detective Eddie Valiant, and he doesn't have keys for those cuffs, and it becomes this hilarious routine that they have. I'll do that when we're definitely going to do a follow-up episode for handcuffs. So a lot of people probably may have wondered, okay, like handcuffs, like they're used by the police, they're used by FBI, law enforcement, like bounty hunter, bail bond agents, aka bounty hunters. They're very sturdy. There must be like an amazing, like high security, insane system around this. Well, some handcuffs, some of them owned by my mentor Night Owl that he did not give to me today, but we might see in the future, do have high-end security features. But most operate on a super basic principle that has been around for decades, if not over 100 years. And the secret is, if you've ever looked at a pair of handcuffs, you have the main body here, which has all the innards that we're going to see in a moment. You have this first bracket, this hinge, and you have a second one. And there's 2 pieces of metal out here and 1 piece of metal riveted in the middle, hence why you can move between them. You can also, by the way, push this in so it can go 360 degree out if there's nothing in the middle. And the big selling point here, if you can see, are the teeth on the handcuffs. And that's the sound you've been hearing. When you press it in, you can hear it. It's such a sexy, cool sound, right? That's like the cool thing. In fact, I'm going to push this all the way through just to open it real quick. And I'll do that. I'll try to do the handcuff slap. Here we go. This is like some ASMR here. There you go. Oh, crap. I just realized that I'm not sure if I changed everything on Twitch. Okay, I think I did a boo-boo, and I didn't change the stuff on Twitch, which will suck. That might be the reason why we're not really getting as many views as we normally do. Let's find out. Yeah, I forgot to change it, didn't I? Intro to handcuffs. Yeah, I forgot to change it. Hang on, just one moment. I'm just going to change everything right here. I'm not going to put on music. I'm going to do this really fast. And tool. So this is what I mean about my work schedule. Like, I literally have worked like 19 hours in the past 3 days. It's been over 19, but yeah, 19 hours in the past 3 days. It's been insane. I've been working a lot to midnight as well, so. Hold on, I just did this in the wrong section. Co-founder and tool member. I'm going to use this time to once again let everyone know that this is pretty much going to be the last time that we are going to be raising funds for our charity this evening. We've been doing this for 2 months now. It was originally supposed to be a month, which is going to be for the National Abortion Federation. Hang on. Let's find out here. So let's hopefully move this. Begin crafting. Can't believe I screwed this up. I knew I forgot something here. Let's add some tags. Let's do 2 more tags. Come on. I hope the next episode that we do is going to be like a ton better. Hold on. Okay. Now we've updated it. Now I'm just going to double check extensions here. I apologize. It's probably going to save wrong now. I just wanted to make sure. Okay, so we are flipping this with you, and I think we're good, and I can finish the rest of the episode. There we go. All right, now that I've corrected all of that stupid mistakes, let's go back here. So, like I said, solid metal. You don't want to use these in the playroom. There's often handcuffs are often used by law enforcement and other security agencies, bail bondsmen in the United States, aka bounty hunters, things like that. And what you mainly have here, I'm going to do the bootleg of a way of opening this, is you have the main body where all the action's going to happen. You're going to see that. There's a little keyhole there. We don't have a double locking feature on this one. These are super basic. I believe we don't. So let me just double check. Yeah. And we have this main solid first body here, the rivet in the second one. You can see there's a little gap, and that allows the handcuffs to be put together. And the big feature on this is going to be this sort of teeth, ratcheting teeth system, which makes that sound when you put handcuffs together. In fact, like I said before, I realized before, I'm going to do the classic slap the handcuffs on someone. Here we go. So, hold on. See, I'm just learning this myself, so I'm also trying not to harm myself. One more time. Let's try this. There we go. So it wasn't like a full one, but yep, now they're on. So the big question is, well, how do handcuffs work? Surely there must be like some crazy like security things for all these Smith Wesson handcuffs, you know, like this crazy like pinning systems and like RFIDs, and there's little tiny brains in them. Well, it's actually a very simple system that's been used for decades, and in fact has been being used for like centuries by now. Just get this. Sometimes the downside of having security cats is that they shed. So sometimes I have to get that out of the way. So this one is, thankfully Night Owl dremeled this one out so we can take a look on the inside it. I'm sorry for the blurriness. And I will show you how they work when we do a follow-up episode. I'll have a better camera. But this is what it looks like on the inside. And in the future, I'm going to be getting a pair of a pair of handcuffs where this section will be plastic and each part will also be colorized. So for people who aren't colorblind, it's a bit easier to follow. So what you'll notice here is where this keyhole is. This is it normal, and then this is it dremeled out. So if you look, and we're going to stream probably for like 10 more minutes. So if you see that keyhole over here, that's what's over on this side. And if you look at a Smith & Wesson key, and this is pretty much how the key is, you'll notice there's not really bitting on it. It's just a little flag, and then it's on a tube that's hollow inside. And that's what that peg is for, to stick that on the tube. And when you put handcuffs on, there's a little actuator bar here, and it has the inverse rivet of these actual teething rivets. And that's why when you put these two together, watch what happens when these collide. That's what's making that sound. And it's designed so that it can go in, but the teeth, when you try to pull out, it's metal on metal, just like our padlocks that we've shown on this show. So no amount of strength. You'll basically, if you were Superman, you would break the chain before you'd be able to break this, just trying to pull out this way. And that's why. And the more you push in, the more it ratchets. Push this all the way through. So when you have the handcuffs on you, how does the police get them out? Well, again, they use the handcuff key. And again, other handcuffs might have bidding, but for most Smith & Wessons, they just use them right out of the box. So it's just this little flag. It's made to very specific specifications, but you can just get these keys. And you put that in the peg. And what happens is that when you turn it towards the direction of the chain, it pushes that actuator up and out of the way. Here, I'll show you. See, so we put this in, and then when we turn, see how it lifts it up? So now there's a space between those ratchets. And in fact, if I just let go, it's now ratcheted in again, and we can't open. But if I do that, it opens up, and then slap in, and that's how it works. So it's just basically an actuator with these cutout teething rivets, and when you put the key in, it just moves the actuator out of the way. Otherwise, it just holds it in on the teeth. That's really all it is. So how would you, if someone like illegally detained you, or if you were a magician, how would you be able to get out of these? Well, there's two methods. One is you can just simply have or make the key on you. And again, a lot of times, like this one is cut, so it's a bit more of a universal bidding, because some of them do have teething biddings on here. They kind of work like the way warded locks are. See an earlier episode of different lock types. But all of them, most Smith & Wessons and a lot of locks around the world just use this basic little flag shape. And you can just have this on your persons. You can just push and move that rivet out. And the crazy part is, because it's just simply a certain size cylinder with a hole in it and a little flag, you don't even need this. You can 3D print or cut out very similar keys. As long as it has that hole at that dimension, that little flag, you can take this little 3D printed plastic guy here, it's made out of strong PLA material, and just stick that in. And while you might have to push a bit more just because of the plasticness, but not too much or it'll break, it will do the same thing as the actual key and lift it out of the way. And in fact, I always keep this guy on me. This is Sparrow's default plastic universal handcuff key that I haven't taken it out yet. It's designed to be in the shape of a quarter, so it blends in with all your coins and stuff. And a lot of devices have little universal handcuff keys either on them or made out of them. You get them from Sparrow's, you can get them out of many different lock picking and lock sport manufacturers. So like if I was kidnapped, I would have this with my change or in my back pocket, and I would break this excess stuff. I'd have the key, which is very similar, in fact almost similar. I know the front part is with the little flag, but in terms of the lock, even the body, it's very, very similar to this 3D printed one that Night Owl lent me. When you take all the excess stuff out of it, and I would break that, and you can see also how tiny it is. Like I'm going to take the standard Smith & Wesson key right here, and you can see it's similar to when they figured out the warding locks where they didn't need all the extra stuff, they just needed a tip. Well, with this, as long as you have the tip and enough space to insert, wink wink, you don't need this entire length and body and everything. You could just shrink everything down to its necessities, unlike what you guys can do in real life. Oh, but yeah, that is really all you need for this. But what if you don't have a 3D printer, you don't have these keys? What if you've never bought these keys? Well, the other thing you can do, and the common method, is you can shim these. And what you need is a shim. You can buy these, or you can take this and make a similar shape out of beer cans or any sort of like canned drinking material. It needs to be, it's similar to when we did the bypasses for the decoder locks. It's slightly, a lot of these are slightly thicker, but you can literally make them out of the same material. As long as it's in these width shape dimensions, and this big part here is just so it's easier to hold in your hand. And what you're doing here with the shim is you're exploiting the ratchet system. So let's put these back on again. So I'm just going to do it like this because it's just going to be easier for me. So I have the handcuffs slapped on because I'm going to demo this in real life too on my own wrist. How would you be able to get out of this? Well, you would have the shim on you. And remember, just like with lockpicking, you need the tools. If you don't have the tools, these handcuffs are never going to come off until someone brings by the key and takes it out. And what you're going to do is, this is wide enough and it's thin enough where it can actually insert into this the space that's in between the main body part, and it's as wide as the main shackle, and it's thin enough, yet thick enough, yet sturdy enough that, see, we push that in there. So it's right now, it's like inside and it's on that lip edge of that piece of metal holding it together, and right at the door of where this interlocking actuator is with the teeth. And what you're going to do is that even if they put it, usually even when they put it tight on your wrist, even with thin wrists like mine, there is a little bit more rivet space in order to actually move the ratcheting in further. This is where it's kind of like a risk reward thing. So what you do is once you have the shim in, you put pressure on the shim as if you're still trying to insert it deeper, and then you're going to push the shackle in further. And what that's going to do is there's going to be enough of a time and a gap for this to lift up that the shim is actually going to go in between the actuator and the teeth and follow all the way through. So here we go. So we have it in there. So we're putting pressure on the shim as like if we're trying to insert it further. And we're going to push this in slightly more. And you're going to see it jump up here. Are you ready for this? Here we go. 3, 2, 1. So I pushed it in kind of further than I needed to. But as you can see, our shim is now in between the two teeth. The teeth aren't touching. They aren't in together here. This is also why I want the color one to highlight the difference between the two. I'm going to push it in a little bit further. So as you can see, they're not connecting, which means it's not ratcheted into anything. So I can move this back and forth because it's only covering those 3 ratchets of the inner actuator, which means I can just simply take the ratcheting out. And this works both ways, by the way. You can easily, you don't even have to open it all the way. You can ratchet it in. Stick this in. Let's get this right. Ta-da. Hold on. What did I just do? Maybe a little bit further. There we go. Stick this in. Push this in. And you can just open it just enough to slide your hand out. Things like that. And this is freeform. I can push it in all the way because there's nothing in the middle right now. And that's how that works. Now, what's fascinating about this is, you don't even need to have the specialty shim. You can also do this with a more common tool, but I'm going to show you on a pair of handcuffs that don't have the dremeling on my own wrist. So this is the same Smith Wesson 100. This is the 104 series, I believe, but with no dremeling, so you can't see inside. So once again, someone's just like, ha ha ha, you're going to be my boyfriend now, you're coming with me. Like I'm at the DEF CON pool or something. So there's 2 ways we can get out of this. I can get my universal handcuff key here, pass it on to a free hand. Don't worry, I'm going to do this with both hands eventually. You turn in the direction of the tip towards the lock body because that's the actuator, and that opens. Or, rodent comes up at Hope and it's just like, hey, you're coming with me to haze you at the security department. So what we can do here is we can get the shim, stick that in the gap, and push the shim in as if we're going in at the same time, and we're going to push the ratcheting in at the same time. Let's try this. See, so it went in, and now I can just move my wrist and just holding it in here, because if you don't hold that shim while you're pulling this metal part out, you'll pull the shim with it and it'll re-ratchet, so you don't want that. And I can just up and get right out. And this works on all of these. Every single model here, doesn't matter how old, doesn't matter. This is the actual 100. The Smith & Wesson, same thing. Just take the handcuff key, universal handcuff key, put in there, move the lock body, opens. Or you can slap it on. Take the shim. And of course, this is much more difficult. You need a lot of coordination when it's on both your wrists. And you're going to push the shim in while you push the shackle in. So it's in. And pull out. Something I wish Donald Trump's father would have done. Pull out. Same with these WN40 models. It looks shinier. It's slightly smaller ratcheting. It's more fit for the size for my wrist, but the universal handcuff key works as well as the shim. See? And the scary one is this motherfucker. So this, I don't even know exactly what, it's the TCH 840. And what's unique about this is it's the same internal, same ratcheting system, but you'll notice there's no loose chain. They made this a solid body because a lot of times the way you can easily reach around with the universal handcuff key or the shim is by rotating your wrist. Obviously with this giant plastic piece here and this reinforcement with the metal, you can't really rotate your wrist on these. So this is an actual like higher end security just by changing that one aspect. But if I remember correctly, it has the same susceptibility. So we put the shim in, push this, goes in, and it comes out. It's just more difficult when you have it on both your wrists. Now, before I get into some other pieces here, and then we're going to end the episode properly, one, just want to remind everyone that this is going to probably be my last day of raising money for the National Abortion Federation. I'm going to leave the whole charity running until December 1st, and then whatever money we have in, that will be sent through Tiltify, money that we don't touch. Tiltify touches it because they're a reputable organization, over to National Abortion Federation, which is going to help fight for our rights, not only as people with uteruses or people who know people with uteruses, which is like in the entire country, but also for just privacy rights in general, because it really did erode all privacy rights for all United States citizens. And other countries are also going to be looking to emulate this. So they're sending in lawyers and boots on the ground in order to protest this, and the more money they get, the better. Makes all of our lives better. And we always support privacy and security for all, as well as like base freedoms, because America, something that America has forgotten. See Florida and Texas and New York for some degree. New York City especially. So I'm going to put that link in again, where you can donate if you are on Twitch. There's also going to be a widget when you scroll below to donate, as well as you can scan the QR code that's in the corner over there. I promise that's not a man in the middle of attack. That is actually will go to our Tiltify page, and so you have like 3 more days to donate if you're watching this post-mortem. So, a few other things before we end the episode here. What happens if you don't have a universal handcuff key, or if you don't have the shim? Well, as we're going to see in a moment, I'm actually going to add this in as I'm talking about it. I actually realized I have to go to desktop mode, which is good because I have to show something anyhow. So we're going to flip this over for a moment. So here we go. Hacking desktop, whoa. Okay, so we are going to look at that in a bit. There is a way to do this, and you still need a tool to do it. There's no way, because I had people asking me this. I think it's hilarious that people ask me, like, hey, do you, what would they ask me? And they're just like, oh, once I have these on my wrist, is there like a way to like, open these without having a tool where it's just your hands? It's like, no. If you see anyone just open these with their bare hands, they're either stronger than fucking Superman, or quite simply, they're doing a magic trick. They've modified these handcuffs in such a way to make themselves look more like a badass than they actually are. So you need another tool, and often you need a universal handcuff key for the actual key portion, or the shim in order to shim the actual teeth between the actuator and the teeth on the handcuff. But what if you don't have a designed shim or handcuff key, even though you can 3D print these keys, or you can use a Coke can and make these sort of shims? If you have bobby pins on you, you can actually pick these handcuffs open. Now, I do not have bobby pins on me, so I'm not going to show you, but remember, I got these loaned from Night Owl. So we're going to watch a quick video of Night Owl looking at the same handcuffs that you see here, and he's going to show, using a bobby pin, how to manipulate the bobby pin in the shape, and then what technique you do in order to open the actual keyhole portion of the lock, as well as to shim it with a bobby pin. I will also going to mention that someone out there on Instagram, I can't remember their username, said that they also wanted to see, we're not going to do this live just for my own safety, but there's a technique called double locking, which basically holds the ratcheting in place so you can't push it in further, which means you can't use the shim. So how you would get out of it, it's the same thing. You would need a bobby pin or a similar type of pick design in order to actually activate that normally, which is what a lot of these 3D printed ones don't have. Sparrows has it. This one doesn't have it. But see that back part here? That's what you would use to actually turn on or turn off. Let's see if I can show it with this. Double lock. So it's like the first lock is putting on the person's wrist, and then you use the back of this and you move it over, and it should be double lock now. So yeah, I can't now move the ratcheting on this. I would have to go in and use the key to open it or manipulate that system. Oh yeah, it's double lock, so I can't actually use the key. Yeah, I'm gonna undo that in a bit. But yeah, that's what the double locking is. So Night Owl is not only going to show how you can use a bobby pin to actually pick the handcuff open, but he's also going to show you how you get by the double locking with the same bobby pin system. So I'm going to add the video, and let's watch my mentor show even more elite ways of how to get out of these lock systems.
Hi folks, sorry about the lack of videos lately. I've been working on a bunch of different projects that just unfortunately haven't really produced anything video worthy lately. What I have for you today though is a bunch of Smith Wesson handcuffs. We have the model 100-1, that's their sort of most common model. The model 100 M&P, which is a variant of the model 100, and we'll go over the differences between those in a moment. The model 300, which is basically just a hinged version of the model 100, and then the model 1, or the so-called universal cuff. Basically though, all of these internally are pretty much identical. There's some very small differences in the way that the double lock is applied, but inside the handcuff it actually works exactly the same way and uses basically the same parts to do it. So the key thing though is that they do all use the exact same key. This is Smith & Wesson's standard key. My next video will be discussing another Smith & Wesson model that does not use their standard key, and we'll go over why that is exactly in that video. But for now, we're going to go over how to pick these handcuffs using nothing more than a standard bobby pin. Now I picked up a big package of these at my local big box pharmacy for just a few dollars, and it does pay to it pays off to spend the extra 50 cents or $1 on the package to get the ones that are made of actual metal instead of the ones that are mostly plastic, because just the plastic ones, they may work for one use, but they break very easily, especially when you try to put a sharp bend in it. And that's kind of what we're going to do, because this is pretty much all you need. This is a bobby pin where I have scraped the plastic coating off the ends and then put 2 small bends in it. The very small bend here is useful for undoing the double lock on these Smith & Wesson handcuffs, while the slightly longer tip is useful for lifting the ratchet pawl.
Slightly longer tip.
So we'll start with the Model 100s. This slot here actually goes all the way through the cuff, and come on, focus there. Focus. There we go. And as you can see, that little bar inside that slot is the actual double lock. So now you can see that it has been applied, and the handcuff cannot be closed any further, nor can it be opened. Normally, standard way of operating is to insert the key, turn it one way towards the chain swivel, and now the double lock is undone, and then you turn it again the other way, and the handcuff opens. So we're just going to apply that double lock again. There we go. And we're going to take the small end of our bobby pin, slide it in there, and just slowly work our way around the edge of the keyhole until we get up to around the 1 o'clock position, at which point we should be encountering the tip of the double lock. And then we just use the edge of the keyway and the center post for the key to give us a little bit of leverage. Just bend over, and now the double lock is undone.
Just bend over.
Work our way back around, remove the tool, flip it around, and this time we want the tip facing towards the inside of the cuff. We're going to use a sort of scooping motion to try to get under the pawl and just lever it up, and that's Model 100 open. Now the M&P internally is the same, except for one very important difference, and that is how the double lock is applied. It is released the exact same way, but instead of having to use the back of the key and fiddling around with a slot or trying to fit it into a small hole on the side of the handcuff like we will with the Model 1s, this just has this little finger activated lever like that. It snaps back automatically, and now the handcuff is double locked. Same tool, same process, just slide the narrow bit in there, work it around until you get some resistance, which should be hitting the double lock bar, and then just lever on it a bit. Should feel a little bit of a click, and that should now be only single locked. And then we're going to take that long end again, work the tip
Just the
underneath
tip.
the pawl, and lever, and there we go. Model 300 is again just the Model 100 with a hinge instead of a chain link between the two cuffs. Literally is exactly the same inside here. It even still uses the same faceplate. As you can see, this little bump here is for the chain swivel, which obviously is not present on the hinged version, so we don't need to worry about that. And then there's the Model 1. Come on, focus. The Model 1, the main difference is that the standard Model 1 uses the push pin style double lock, which is much more common in all brands of handcuffs than the slot driven one or the little spring lever version. But you just take the back of the key, stick that post in the hole, and push in, and now that is double locked. They call the Model 1 the universal model because the slightly different shape of the bow and ratchet arm allow it to open slightly wider, or slightly, sorry, it allows it to lock closed both slightly larger and slightly narrower than the standard, more circular Smith Wesson cuff design. But again, even though we're dealing with the push pin application, we just work that short tip in, work it around towards the 12 o'clock position. Just short of that, we hit this bit of resistance. We just lever off the center post and the edge of the keyway until we get a little bit of a click, and that's the double lock disengaging. We work our way back around to the bottom. We insert
The bottom.
the long tip there.
Long tip in the bottom.
To angle it and scoop upwards, and we've got it open. Making a tool like this, even when you're in handcuffs, is fairly simple. And essentially these same tools can be made out of just about any piece of sufficiently thin wire. So this is why police departments, one, try to make sure that they thoroughly pat people down when they put them in handcuffs. Two, why they are supposed to always double lock handcuffs. And three, why there are laws making it a felony to escape a lawful arrest, or in a lot of jurisdictions have concealed handcuff keys or similar tools on your person when you're arrested. So until next time, have fun, stay safe, and especially try to, stay legal. Don't go and try to impress the cops that are putting you in the back of their car by demonstrating this. Save it for a more appropriate occasion.
So that was my mentor. Let me take the headphones off. That was my mentor, Night Owl, who is all these handcuffs and cutaways and shims and stuff. This all comes from his collection. We're going to be winding up the end of the episode here, just to make sure that my mentor gets his fair too. If you want to learn even more about handcuffs than what you've seen here, as well as many other lock things, especially he has a lot of good information video on the history of a lot of locks, when they were manufactured, their evolution, the companies and minds behind them, etc. You can follow him on 3 different things. First of all, he has his own YouTube channel, which is youtube.com /@nightowl. And by the way, Night Owl, he spells the O with a 0, so it's NITE0WL for everything that he has. We're going to be actually getting a YouTube username very shortly for our channel. Even though it's declining thanks to the terrible must smell, he was and still is very active on Twitter. I do want to warn, though, is that if you're more politically minded and motivated, even if you agree with all this stuff, just beware that since this is his personal Twitter account, he has a mix of both lock and physical security stuff as well as locksmithing stuff, because he's an actual locksmith. If you live in the New York City area, please contact him if you need really well done expert locks. I had locks done by him. We actually covered my old locks on the show that were done by him, and they were like literally impossible to pick at my skill level and even at skill levels higher than me. But his Twitter is also a lot of personal stuff of like things that he's eating and opinions about certain public figures and stuff. So I just want to let you know. And he's also, like many other people in the hacker and security world, except for us because we're the OGs, have gone over to Mastodon. So you can find him at Night Owl, NITE0WL, at defcon.social, which defcon.social, if you're looking for a Mastodon instance to move to. We're planning on doing a blog guide soon on our blog about the Fediverse, Mastodon, and all of that. I don't know about tonight, but at least maybe this weekend. But defcon.social was spun up by the DEFCON people that run the convention and run the groups and stuff like ours. And so if you are like, I don't know what instance to join, try joining defcon.social. Very popular instance. So just shouting out, definitely check out his YouTube videos, like his stuff, leave comments. You can follow and contact him on Twitter and Mastodon on the defcon.social instance of Mastodon. And if you're in the New York area, he is a licensed locksmith. So if you need lock work to be done, definitely reach out to him. If you pay him, he's definitely. It's not just because he's my mentor and friend. I've used locks by him. We featured his own custom locks that he's made for me on our show. You definitely get what you pay for, and they're really well done, really high quality because it's Night Owl, so of course it's good. Last thing we're going to do here is I'm just going to go quickly very temporarily off air, and then we're going to switch back to face mode and end the episode. This is just because in the past when we used to move the camera, I'd make everyone dizzy and stuff, so this is just me not making everyone dizzy. I'm sorry that this is such like a half-dash episode. I'm also kind of mad because I'm like, why aren't we getting the amount of views we normally get? And I'm like, oh, I still have everything set to crypto barons on Twitch and not lockpicking. So hopefully Twitch will recorrect itself, but we'll see. At least it's not falling apart like Twitter is. So we're going to go quickly back to desktop mode because I want to cover one last thing. So you'll see my face again. Hi everyone, my slightly better yet still crazy hair. So let's get this video off. When we do our live stream for our meeting in December, we're going to be doing a more proper tribute. But I just wanted to make this announcement on air. If you haven't heard, before DCG 201 was a thing for many, many years, and I still go to this every meeting. I'm going to be very shortly at the upcoming meeting they're going to have at the Citigroup Center on December 2nd, simply because I'm going to be supporting a friend's show that night that starts at 7, so I'm going to be like there between like 5 and 6. I'll be there for like an hour and a half. But before then, when I became public, because I've been doing hacking forever since I was like in diapers, but when I became like public, I checked out my local 2600 group, which were like the group meetups before DEF CON groups were made. A lot of them are still going. Sometimes the people who run the 2600 group in your area also run the DEF CON meet and vice versa. It's pretty nuts. But this is the oldest first meetup, been there forever. And when I went to that meetup, the first hacker in person that I ever met was Jeopardy Jim, aka Jim. I'm going to screw up his last name because I always screw up his last name. Jim Vicent. Someone's going to correct me. Jim. I just know him as Jeopardy Jim because it's just easier. And I am an American and I'm stupid, so I have terrible times with names. He was literally the first hacker with a face that I ever in meet space that I ever met in person. I'm going to do more of a detailed story of that later, but basically known him throughout since I met him, been friends with him since then. And that was like back in like 2006, so it's been a while. No matter all the crazy stuff going in my life or his life, you know, we're friends, we talked, we shared stuff, we played games, we talked about hacking. And unfortunately, this Thanksgiving, we were served the worst turkey because on November 24th, 2022, Jim passed away at the age of 64. And it's weird saying, I'm trying not to get emotional, it's weird saying that out loud because, again, longtime friend of mine, knew him in person, and he was literally before Night Owl, Rob T. Firefly, Deviant Olem, Tool, Snowden, Chelsea Manning, Dark Tan, before any of these people, I'd seen pieces of people like on IRC and ICQ and Usenet and vBulletin. Jim was the first person I met. So all of my, if I did not meet Jim and Jim wasn't so awesome and nice when I first met him, I would have not stuck around New York City 2600. There would have been no Sidepocket. There wouldn't have been any of the stupid stuff that I've done. There would be no Master of Unlocking. There would be no DCG 201. Okay? So that's where Jim is really important, not just for my life, but also for DCG 201 as a whole. So we're going to be doing a bigger tribute for him in December. And in fact, on Off the Hook, let me try to go to 2600's website here. I think it's this. Nope, I screwed up. Is it just a .com? I think it's just a .com. We're going to find out in a bit. Yep, it's the .com. But on the Longtime Hacker Show Off the Hook, which I'll put a link to in the chat, this upcoming episode on Wednesday at 6 p.m., I believe. No, sorry, this Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because you can listen online as well as just locally on WBAI and also in Hudson Valley on WGXC. WBAI, I believe, is 99.5 FM and WGXC is 90.7 FM, by the way. And again, you can listen online. They're going to be doing a tribute episode of their radio show / podcast. And in December, for our proper meeting, we're going to do a big proper tribute and ode to Jeopardy Jim, my longtime friend. And without him, none of my hacking stuff, including DCG 201, would ever exist. We're going to be doing a more proper tribute, but because this happened so recently, and I literally found out, like with most people, 2 days ago when his partner announced this, I thought I would announce the news on here. If you hadn't seen it on our social media yet, now it's on all of our live streams. That this is my impromptu, immediately tribute to Jim. So learning handcuffs today, even though these were all donated by Nat Owl. In addition to dedicating this to my friend, living friend, thank God, currently. Don't jinx anything. In addition to thank you for Night Owl for lending me these handcuffs. Today's episode of Master of Unlocking under DCG 201 is being impromptu attributed to the late Jeopardy Jim, who passed away November 24th at the age of 64. So I just want to give like a moment of silence to that. And of course, next month we're going to do a proper tribute, but I just want to do a moment of silence. Okay, well, that was it for Master of Unlocking. I know it was kind of ending with a downer, but I just wanted to get that out of the way. I'm going to switch back to face mode here. I hope you learned a lot. Again, we went over handcuffs and how they worked, how they operate, how to open, shim, and bypass them. Thank you again, Night Owl, for lending me part of your collection so I can do this episode. If you want to see these in person, definitely come out to, in addition to us celebrating Jeopardy Jim's life, I should be having these at the meeting while I'm there for a short period of time, and hopefully no funny business will happen. And maybe I might have these at our upcoming December DCG 201 meeting, but no guarantees. Eventually, like early next year, between January and April, I'm going to have my own set of handcuffs and see-through ones and stuff like that, so I can do this without borrowing all the amazing stuff from my mentor, even though he has no problems lending me stuff like this. And again, thank you, Night Owl, for lending this so I can do this episode. If you want to check us out, again, there's multiple ways you can get in contact with us. Let me just save here. Again, our website's going to finally be up some point this week. If it's not up by tomorrow or tonight, it will be guaranteed up Saturday morning. But in the meantime, you can go to our Medium blog at defcon201.medium.com. We're also live streaming and also posting on all sorts of social media. We're on our big mainstays are the failing, but still there just by the force of sheer will of the users mocking Elon Musk. Twitter at defcon201nj. We're on Instagram at defcon201. We're on GitHub. We're on the now popular, thank God, yay for free open source software, federated, democratized software. Mastodon on the hostsucks.social instance. We're under DCG 201. And we recently, which we're going to add to the list, co-host and tribal, and we're going to be doing a bunch of other new social media stuff. We're on minds.com if you want more crypto and liberté website. But this is our link tree that has all of those on there. And also, if you want to follow along and get notifications, you can in addition follow us on our main streams right now on Twitch, DLive, or YouTube. I will say that probably at the end of the year, We might turn on DLive once in a while, but I think we're going to stop streaming on DLive because it's really just become a bunch of gambling and like non-stop political streams. Barely anyone's playing video games. Barely anyone's talking about crypto. People are barely doing cool things like growing weed plants and eating at diners and doing electronic stuff. It's literally become like Ponzi stream, the live streaming since PewDiePie went away. So one of our Crypto Barons episodes is going to be us experimenting which crypto. God, my hair, dear Lord. I can't wait to tame this tonight. But we're going to look into a new blockchain-based live streaming service. We're going to be testing some the next month or two, so stay tuned for that. But if you follow us on there, you can catch up on that. If you are on YouTube, one of my good friends is still doing their subathon. And so you're going to be redirected to their subathon. They're going to be playing like Pokemon and stuff like that. If you're on Twitch, stay tuned. We're going to go raid another channel. I don't know who it's going to be. It might be a cool streamer, might be some hacking, might be lockpicking, metalworking, some weird VTuber, some archive thing, something crazy. It's going to be neat. And when we go raid, say hi to them. And lastly, even though we're going to get back on this in December, because we mainly use it for CTF stuff or capture the flag, here's our Discord link. I try to go on Discord at least once a week. I'm not a Discordian. I'm like very old. I'm still like IRC and crap. I still remember having a combination of MSN, Yahoo, ICQ, and AOL, and then you got Trello and combined everything together with Jabber, and then everything went onto their own islands again, and now we're on. So it's like we went and then we unified and then we split off again. So Discord is very, even as a gamer, I'm like, huh? So there's that. And stay tuned for future live streams. Now, normally we stream Master of Unlocking every first and third Friday of the Sunday of the month. I don't think we'll be streaming on the 4th, so just pay attention. We're either going to be streaming on one of the 2 Sundays in December, if not 2 Sundays in December. At worst, it might be bumped up to a Saturday or a Monday until I can get like a consistent scheduling going. I'm going to try either on the 10th or the 12th to stream Crypto Barons. So stay tuned for that. And hopefully, if everything goes next month, we're going to have our in-person hybrid meeting. So we're going to be live streaming and being in person. It's going to be our XmasCon thing. So we'll finally get back to that because I have so much cool stuff that got delayed throughout the year that we're doing in 2023. You guys, all you hackers and crackers, not crackers, I just revealed my age. All you hackers and exploiters and stuff are not ready. And hopefully we're going to bring back Patch Tuesday next month. And Circuit Breakers will finally come back in January. So I have some cool stuff lined up for that. So just stay tuned for all of our live streams and stuff. Thank you for watching. I'm going to one last moment because this is probably going to be our last stream. Here's the link again for our Tiltify for our charity donation drive. You can also scan that QR code, and if you're on Twitch, there's a widget below. If you're on YouTube or Twitch, stay tuned. You're going to be forwarded or rated another person's stream and say hi to them. Thank you for watching. Hope you check us out on our blog and social media. Hope you learned a bunch of stuff today, especially with the handcuffs. Hack the planet, Dirty Jersey represent, and remember that I need to properly comb and wash my hair before we get on the stream, because I'm just looking at this and I'm waiting for Sasquatch to come out. If you guys are curious, my primary job, I'm wearing hats and helmets all the time. So this hair is normally beautifully like it bounces now and long and stuff. But if I wear hats for like more than 4 days and I don't comb it or wash it because I'm that busy, it ends up like this or worse, and I have to spend 12 hours in the shower crying trying to detangle it. It's fun. My hair is my own spaghetti code. It's really bad. It's like JSON being implemented with a PHP background strung together by Perl levels of bad. And by the way, PHP actually just updated a ton of vulnerabilities, so if you're running PHP, update right now. So stay tuned, enjoy the music, say hi on YouTube and Twitch to who we raid, and I'll hopefully see you on more Master of Unlocking episodes because I'm getting a bunch of stuff in the mail, and it's going to be really cool. Peace, guys. Enjoy the music. Toodles.
Shake your bones, double shot, don't stop moving, yeah, the beat of ours, gotta mix it up, go chit, choke, flip, roll, belly flop, gotta keep the beat on burning up, so don't stop moving, don't stop grooving on, gotta keep going on, gotta keep going on, gotta keep on, don't stop moving on, gotta keep going on, gotta keep going on, gotta keep on, keep on, keep on, keep on, 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 on,